What is going on, everybody? This is Caleb Noble here talking, and I'm here with my good friend, Donny Jarvis. Donny, say hello.
Hello.
So what we've decided to do, or what I've decided to do, is start a radio show, simulcast, podcast, to kind of talk to different people in the area, or just in general, any walks of life, that have kind of inspirational stories and, all that type of stuff. Like, do something special. I mean, it doesn't have to be a business. It could be, anything in life that inspires others to, chase after dreams and do what they love. Those are the two hashtags I love: chase your dreams, do what you love, living the dream. It all. So, but anyways, my first guest is Donny Jarvis right here. He's one of my best friends, and he's does a lot in our community. So, Donny, first off, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me and having me, Caleb. Thank you.
So, Donny, I want you to tell people a little bit about you. Where are you from? And kind of, where are you from? And maybe a little bit about your military service.
Okay, so I am from Newberry, Mass. I went to Triton High School. I graduated in 2004. A few years after high school, I enlisted in the Army National Guard here in Mass in 2006. After basic training, I received a wonderful letter letting me know that I am heading to Iraq. And I was in Iraq from 07 and 08, took a few years off, and I was back in Afghanistan 2011 and 2012. I got out of the service fully in 2014.
All right, so Donny, tell me a little bit about, so you got out of the service. Can you tell us kind of like what happened?
So in the service, I enlisted as a combat engineer, which is a few things, but what we primarily focused on was explosives and counter IED work when we were in the combat theaters of Iraq and Afghanistan. So what we did was we cleared routes and allowed freedom of movement for friendly forces and coalition forces alike. So supply routes could bring supplies to the troops. We also escorted special forces a lot on their operations. We just provided a safe way of movement. In Afghanistan, I hit a fairly large IED that ended up rolling my vehicle. I spent a few weeks, a week in Germany and a few months at a hospital right outside of Washington, D.C., recovering from injuries. I have physical injuries from it and a traumatic brain injury from it, but nothing too serious. I don't have a missing limb. But we really recover. I came back home suffering still from the traumatic brain injury. My limitations were limited. I was limited. I had to wear sunglasses for almost 2 years, and I had to rebuild myself. Yeah. Reinstill that confidence. So I got involved.
Well, first off, let's talk about, so I just got to stop you there because right after he got back.
Yeah.
Right after you got back, Donny, I remember you just did Operation Delta Dog is a nonprofit.
Yep.
That gives service dogs to veterans, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So after being in D.C., I came home and I was on easily a dozen or so medications. And I looked at my case manager here or social worker and I said, I need to stop this. I want to be off pharmaceuticals, but how can I address this with my condition without taking pharmaceuticals? And at that point, brand new was the service dog discussion was just starting up. And she suggested that I explore getting a service dog. Although skeptical at the beginning, I was open to try new things that was not pharmaceuticals. So I became the fourth veteran through Operation Delta Dog to receive a service dog from the charity, and that has probably been one of the biggest life-changing things that I've done.
Yeah. Mocha, right?
Mocha, yes, he's a little rock star. We've been through a lot. We've done a lot. I've had him now for probably 5 years, 6 years this year. It'll be 6 years this year. So it's been life-changing, and we've helped other veterans get dogs and work through their issues. And we bring them to the jail. Guys like them in jail. It's good stuff.
So you got back, obviously you had you had some things you were working on and getting, kind of reacclimated to life and
readjusting.
stuff like that. And let's just talk about kind of like what you started doing, because I mean, I don't know if anybody ever heard of Donny, but he does a ton in our community. So how did you get involved in all the nonprofits and helping other veterans? Because that's definitely, and homeless people, there's a million things you do. So just tell us a little about
that. So when I was in the hospital, they had a program that strictly got veterans involved and engaged. And I wanted to bring that back here and do that here. And I was told you couldn't make a living helping, doing the work that I saw down there. And I proved them wrong, I think. So I came back and I wanted to get involved. I couldn't work yet because I was still working through my conditions. I was still transitioning. But I wanted to be busy. So the first thing I did is I went to the town and I asked them,
Newberry, right?
Town of Newberry, Town of Newberry, and I asked them who places the flags for Memorial Day, thinking that would be a good starting point. Well, there was no assigned person per se. Usually the veteran agent takes responsibility for that. And I pointed out that there's a law on the books that says that the town can appoint a veteran to that role. And then I got it. So I started there, and that really blossomed into placing flags, to cleaning and restoring cemetery, resetting, cleaning headstones. I even started a music festival, and so much more.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, I remember when you first started the first Parish burial ground, which is one of the oldest in the country, really, right?
Yeah, it's up there. Definitely one of the oldest.
So it's an old, long story short, it's a
1647.
Yeah, it's got some of the first people that were the founders of this town.
Are there?
Yeah, are in this.
Yeah. One of the most famous ones, Thomas Parker. Parker River is named after him. Parker Street in Newberry is named after him. Thomas Parker is one of the big profile first settlers in Newberry.
Was he a minister? Or
he was a minister. Yep. So he's actually there. And next to First Parish Burying Ground is an active cemetery called the Thomas Parker, named after him.
Yeah,
the church that he ran was on that ground before it burnt down.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So I remember going over there, and if you go on, I don't know if it's on your website, on your YouTube. It's on. I'm sure we could Google it.
We could
figure it out. Yeah, Donny has a website. He can post it on there. But anyways, we went over there, and this place was like, no lie, was so neglected for years. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And
bad.
I remember we did 3 videos. The first video I did, it was like insane. Like this guy's out there by himself with a machete, pretty much, because they won't let him use power tools.
No power tools. That was the rule.
Because it's against the the bylaws or whatever.
Yep.
So he's out there with hand tools, getting everybody to volunteer their time, and you should see the videos. The transformation of that place is unbelievable.
Just in 1 year, I dedicated my entire summer and my body to it. I think I was covered head and toe in poison ivy for up until winter came. It was insane. I spent every day of the summer there, cutting brush, hauling brush. It's crazy.
So why did you do that? I mean, that had nothing to do with veterans. I mean, you do a ton with veterans now, especially. So we'll get to that. But why did you do that?
So it didn't directly have an effect on veterans. However, when I did go to the place the flags, there was a bunch of them that were buried in bushes. And I couldn't just tackle the veterans there. So I felt obligated to clear the entire thing. Why? Because it needed to be done. It was the right thing to do. And if you're able to do something, you should do it, right? No matter what it is. If you are able to do something and you have the ability to do something, you should do it. Why shouldn't you do it? So I did. I researched who the property owner was, with their permission, talked to the church who owns it, and then the next day after the permission was granted, I'm out there, hand tools and all.
So tell us a little about, so then, I mean, because this is like one of the first real projects you did that got like a ton of attention, right?
Yeah, that was one of the, it kind of blew up. And I've done many projects before, but this one project in particular caught a lot of attention. And as it started with just me being out there every day, blood, sweat, and tears. And by the end of it, come the fall, we had a lot of volunteers. And one of the last big projects that year was the high school soccer and football team coming out, Columbus Day weekend. We ended on that note, which is great. They finished it up and made it look perfect. But it really caught a lot of attention and gained a lot of support fast.
So from that, a lot of things, then you started Preserving Newberry, which
Correct.
has, tell us a little bit about that.
So Preserving Newberry, it's not a nonprofit. It's not really anything more than a fancy title for volunteers. We're a project, and it's exactly what the name says. Preserving Newberry is the idea of it. Preserving the history, the past to the present. Mm-hmm. The working in the cemetery kind of created something inside of me that I never thought would be there. I sort of fall in love with the history of the town, right? And I wanted to preserve and protect it. I became very protective of it. I think a lot of it is from the work of just being there with the hand tools, doing it, So we've kind of blossomed that idea, and we're going to be growing it some more this year. I'm working on a few other things that I'm trying to kick off.
Tell us a little bit about the. The other thing is not only do you work there, or have you worked there, but you've also figured out a way to fundraise to help pay for these things.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you do.
At that point, I was using my disability check to pay for that, and it's not sustainable. And my big thing is longevity. No matter what you do, you want to have it continue down the road, right? So you have to create a funding source to keep this sustained, and you have to create tools for success, no matter what you do. Rather it be cleaning headstones, washing cars, mopping floors. There's always roots of success is what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. So I've thought of a lot of different ideas, but one way we generate money is through wreaths across America. Now I started that first year, 50 wreaths. Was my goal. We had 150 wreaths sponsored, and each wreath is sponsored. We get money back, and that money gets put into a fund to help pay for the care for the veteran graves at least.
Yep.
But I'm looking to take that idea and expand on that because I got some other projects that I'm thinking about that I'd like to do, which is financial, but we can make it happen.
Yeah. If there's a will, there's a way, right?
Nothing is impossible until you decide it is.
True that. So, I mean, you've also done a lot with homeless veterans. I mean, there's just a million things. I mean, you're like the Renaissance man of the area. So,
I wouldn't go that crazy. But.
So, tell us, some of the other things you've done in Haverhill. There's your buddy does these meals for...
Joe D'Amore, great guy.
So tell us about what he does.
So Joe D'Amore, he started another project called the Merrimack Valley Hope Mission. Him and I teamed up. It's very homeless base oriented. We've done work in Lawrence. We responded immediately, and we were the first group responding to the gas explosions last September. 24 hours after the explosion, we had 4 trucks whipping up full of supplies heading to the impacted areas. And we were actually down there, the impacted zones, handing out supplies. If not physically, we had our trucks. We were through. So I become his kind of liaison for veterans that we encounter. And we've encountered homeless veterans even here in Newburyport and in Haverhill and Lawrence. So I help them get resources and supportive services to get them back on their feet.
So what do you do? So I know you have like ways you like to do things. Like, what do you do? Like, how do you assess like a homeless veteran? Like, what do you do? The first and foremost thing is you gotta run some stuff to get their information on the service to find out their discharge status. Will let you know what they may be eligible for and whatnot, and then you kind of see what the needs are. Homelessness goes beyond is a multi-complex issue. Is how I look at it. There's several things that can make somebody homeless. There's more beyond financial. My biggest area is mental health. I've been saying it for years. We have a mental health crisis in this country, and not just in the veteran world. It's across all borders. So we need to give this in the veteran and their families wraparound package deal. A bunch of supportive services to get them back on their feet and get them out of the homeless world into stable housing and independency. So you help get them like jobs or like medical help? And
I don't do that, but we link them to services that can do that. In Haverhill, there's a great program called Veterans Northeast Outreach Center. It's a nonprofit, and they provide housing and supportive services. So it's a great go-to for when I'm trying to get people off the streets and in the housing.
That's so cool.
It's great. They provide case management work, wraparound services, but not in a medical sense. By that, like, they can do resume work. They can help you with employment. They can help you get benefits and services. They can get you in the transitional housing, HUD-VASH, which is a housing program through the VA. They have the means to provide supportive services to get you back on your feet and out of homelessness.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so sometimes just linking people to resources can be a huge step.
So why do you do that? Why in the world do you like go and pass out socks and gloves to homeless veterans? You know, I know you're a veteran yourself, so you have a lot of pride, but there's got to be another reason why you do it. You know what I mean? So
my theory is no matter how good you are in life or how well off you are, I always feel that I'm one step away from being that. So I see myself in their perspective, in their eyes. I think any of us, right, we're one step away, no matter how good you are in life, right? We have retired basketball players filing for bankruptcy, right? So anybody can be in that shoes, right? When the stock market crashed, a lot of people became, in that category, in that situation. I don't want to say category, but in that situation. So I put myself in their shoes, and with that, my thought is, what would I like to see for support for me if I'm you?
Yeah.
So I try to give that. So last year, my friend Joe, every Friday he does bag lunches in Haverhill at GAR Park. I sponsored one Friday, and I'm sponsoring 2 this year. We did sandwiches, but I also provided hygiene kits as well. So I really want to bring in some supportive supplies to help them out.
Yeah. And so what's coming up? What do you have planned for your,
Some stuff. So this year, we're trying to incorporate more of the students into the cemetery work, which we're going to work on. After several years of trying, I've now have the Newberry Boy Scouts are involved with me, which I'm really happy about. They're going to be taking on some projects that I've been doing for a while. Physically, right? Well, not physically, but right now I can't be walking in the cemeteries with the terrain. But I want to engage more community groups to it, and then from that, I have some other ideas I'm looking at expanding into.
Yeah, because I know we've talked in the past about how you want to, even if you're not around or you're not a part of something, you want it to be sustainable, right?
Well, here's the other thing. You can die any minute, right? So my biggest thing is you can do things in the moment, but again, longevity, right? Obviously, you're doing something for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. And you probably want to have that continue. Right. So who's going to take over the reins once you move on? And you always want to, my thing is you always want to train somebody to take your job.
Yep.
And that's where I'm heading right now. Is I want to train people or show people and get people involved to take over the role for if and when I have to walk away.
Yeah.
Because I would like to still see it continue.
Because we all know that you have a ton going on all the time.
I try to stay busy.
Yeah, that's good. So what gets you up every morning? Like why? I mean, because
my dog.
Your dog, yeah, Mocha. Mocha eats really good. But why, like a lot of people, I mean, let's be honest, like when you got back, you're not the person I met years ago. Like you've come so far, right? And I think that it's just a testament to like hard work and perseverance,
Yeah. So my biggest thing, and I just talked to a friend about this a few weeks ago, is if you were to die tomorrow, would you be happy and satisfied with the life you've lived today? And if the answer is no, well then let's fix that. Let's do something that you will be proud about, or let's make an impact in the world that you may have thought was never possible. Right. And I constantly thrive for that. I've done a few things, done some things that many people have told me were impossible. And I'm looking back on it. I don't think of it in the moment, but looking back on it, reflecting on it, it's great. It's great. I wrote the state law that was signed by the governor last August. Many people said it would be impossible. From the date we filed it to the date the governor signed it, it was a year and a half.
Can you talk about which one it was? Or
Yeah. So there was a situation that came to my attention of a female veteran that had a miscarriage, and she had a bunch of mental health issues that were going on untreated. And after the miscarriage, she had a single mom. She made a suicide attempt. I say attempt because she didn't succeed. She's still alive. It was brought to my attention. There was trachea damage and a few other things. Becoming frustrated with the emergency room bills that veterans can get, we got her into the VA and they got her help. And the next day I talked to members of the House and Senate here in the state, and I said, we need to file something so a veteran can go to a local emergency room and not face the thought that they may get the bill if they only have VA healthcare, which some veterans like myself only utilize the VA. I don't have private health insurance. I just do the VA. But the VA can say they're not paying for the emergency room bill. And that's a scary thought to some. It's a lot of money. So we had, it's an emergency medical services for veterans. It's the bill. And it was signed by the governor last year. There's a task force now studying the cost and the procedures to get it paid for. That should hopefully be in full swing within the next year or so. So many people told me it was impossible. Not only that, but they said you wouldn't get the state to pay for it. We did both. In a year and a half, pretty fast.
That's amazing. So it's pretty much perseverance. If you set your mind to something, just do it, right?
And that's why I say nothing is impossible until you decide it is. I could easily have said that, you're right, I couldn't do this, right? Rather it be the bill, rather it be the cemetery, or any other project. But everything so far has worked out.
Like, I know for me anyways, being a small business owner, like I can apply this to what I do, like
same thing.
It just, I think it's hard to, when society says that, that's not going to work. You can't do that. What are you, crazy? But you prove them wrong. But the thing is, you have to have the courage to do it, right? And I think that's something that you do.
I think another piece of it is mental toughness and understanding that you have control and say over your actions, over your choices, right? And the second you let somebody else have say and control over your actions, you're not going to go to your potential, okay? And I let myself run my life, right? So two things can happen. Either you control it or somebody else controls it or something else controls it, whatever it may be. And sometimes, for me, I like proving myself wrong. So when I say I can do something and somebody else says you can't do something, well, I told myself I can do it. Let's prove myself wrong. And end up usually working out that I figure out a way to get it done. Nothing's impossible.
Yeah, as long as you set your mind to it, right?
Yeah, as long as, and I say mental toughness because you're gonna fail, okay? But can you work through that? Look at failures as lessons, right? An opportunity to grow. Don't look at failure as a negative. Failure can be an opportunity to grow and rediscover and push yourself beyond the boundary. Sometimes we all got to stop, slow down, and reassess, rethink, reevaluate, and then attack the issue again.
Yeah, so it's if you do fail, as one of my mentors said, he said, if you do fail, think of how much you learned along the way,
Correct.
what you can apply to the next thing you decide to do in life.
So, First Parish is a great example. I sat down with the church. They gave me permission to do it, but they gave me 1,000 things I couldn't do. And the person who I was sitting with that I brought with me, we're walking out, and he said, Donny, there's no way you can do that. I said, it'll be cleaned by Veterans Day. Watch. It was. We were done by Columbus Day weekend. Whole thing's clear.
Set your mind to it. Do it, man.
Yeah.
That's legit.
But as long as the second you doubt yourself, it's all over.
Yeah.
That's why I say mental toughness is huge. the second you doubt it, it can't happen. You've already convinced yourself you can't do it. That's why you got to always say nothing is impossible until I decide it is. And guess what? I believe in my ability to get this done.
Yeah. And just think of how far you've come and where you're at today. And having that mental toughness, as you say, like, I think it's huge. It's like, huge. I mean, it inspires me, you know, if like, I think like, oh, I can't do this. I'm like, well, look what Donny did. Like this guy literally can get anything done.
I wouldn't go
like,
that crazy.
If you want to get front row seats to the Celtics, you can get them. If you want to, you know, he'll get a box. The Red Sox will donate a skybox for veterans and give them free lunch. Like this guy knows what's up. I mean, it's crazy, but
well, because nothing's impossible, right? It's all about execution's also a key factor, right? And as long as you keep telling yourself you can achieve it, you will find the way to do it, right? That's why I say mental toughness, because you can beat yourself up 1,000 times. And every time something negative happens, we'll call it a failure, you can beat yourself up over it. But if you sit back and you look at it and take it as a learning point, you know, and you work through it, that's where the mental toughness comes in. You know, you don't let yourself be discouraged. You don't knock yourself down. The second somebody starts beating themselves up around me, my first reaction is, don't be hard on yourself, you know, because you are your best enemy, your best friend, and your worst enemy.
Yeah, you're right.
You know. So
we have about 3 minutes left, and what if someone is listening to this or watching or whatever, seeing our beautiful faces?
I don't know about that.
What would you say to them if they're thinking about doing something? Do they have some goal, right? Because I think like the purpose of doing this show is to inspire people and give them motivation that they can do whatever they want to do if they set their mind to it.
So my biggest thing is constantly think forward. Focus on finishing the race, not about what you're going to encounter on the racetrack. As long as you continue focusing on crossing that finish line, regardless of what you see on the track, you will finish. You know, the Boston Marathon, I met a girl who I don't remember her name, but I met a girl back in April 2013 at one of the water points, and she had dehydration. And we sat with her about 20 minutes. She said she was going to finish the track regardless of how brutal Heartbreak Hill was. And she was back on the track. You know, she was determined to finish it at all costs. So whatever the idea is, the goal, the incentive, always focus on the end result and getting there. And if when you run into a hurdle, focus on getting through the hurdle to the finish line.
Yeah, that's sweet, you know. Man. That's good. That's good wisdom right there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're going to run into roadblocks. But if you keep focusing on that finish line and you see yourself crossing that finish line, you will cross the finish line.
Yep. And then if you can also surround yourself by people that have a positive influence on your life,
correct,
and what
absolutely.
You're thinking, then I think that's huge.
You want to keep yourself around like-minded individuals. You know, failure is not a bad thing. It's a learning opportunity.
You're right. Well, hey, Donny, I really appreciate you coming on for the first show.
Thank you for inviting me. I always love our conversations.
Yeah, man. It's awesome. It inspires me because here's a guy that, you know, he's literally he's got blown up literally, you know, and look what he's doing. He's making a difference in our community. And I think that's.
And every obstacle I've encountered, so not a big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
I've overcome,
sorry. Every obstacle I've encountered, I've overcome.
It's huge, man.
Yeah.
And so I hope you guys like listening today out on the radio, guys and gals. We're hoping that we can turn this into a weekly thing, 4 o'clock. Have different people come in to talk to, or we can even call them on the phone. So if you know somebody that...
There's a lot of great people in our community. A lot.
You're right. This is one of them right here. So we just thank you, Donny, so much. And we only got about 25 seconds. If someone wants to get in contact with you, what was the best way? Okay, quickest way would be to go on to my website, donjarvis.com, and contact me through that. I share a lot of my community projects on that site. Cool, man. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm inspired from today, and I hope everybody else is at home or in the car or on YouTube. So we'll see you guys next week. Take care. Thanks, Donny.